The following is an encore presentation of stories from the Dooralong Transformation Centre. And we've got one of our guests in from the Dooralong Transformation Centre, so I'm going to say a big good morning to Josh. How are you, Josh?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
I'm really good, thanks. Cold of a morning in Dooralong, isn't it?
Yeah, quite cold.
Yeah, I can imagine. What time do they get you up at Dooralong?
Roll call's at 8, so I'm up by about 7 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, well, that's not
it's not too bad, but
no.
yeah, a bit of trouble sleeping sometimes, so I'm up a little bit earlier than that. So, yeah.
And it's a nice part of the world to wake up in because you've got all the birds singing and the wildlife. It's
a nice place out there. Yeah.
Yeah. You are not from the Central Coast, are you?
No, not originally. I'm from up Coffs Harbour way. I was born down in this area at Belmont, and I went to primary school at Bonnells Bay. So the place is familiar, but I haven't spent a long time here, that's all. Yeah.
And you're in Dooralong because you have, is it alcohol issues?
Yeah, alcohol was my main drug of choice, if that's the way you'd like to put it.
Yeah. When did alcohol come into your life?
Well, I was probably early 20s. I started drinking socially with a group of chefs that I worked with. Sort of became a bit of a problem in my late 20s, yeah.
Yeah. So it wasn't, because we have spoken to people from Dooralong, and they say they started at 13 or 14, with mates at school, but for you it was a lot later than that.
It was a lot later for me. I think I had my first drink when I was about 17 or so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't, my career was a main priority at that time, so I didn't really drink too much. But
and your career as a chef?
Yes.
So that was priority, getting yourself qualified
and getting the working in different places that had good reputations and learning as much as I could so I could travel.
So at this stage of your life, you had no idea that you would fall into addiction?
If someone had told me in my early 20s, hey, you'll end up in rehab by your mid-30s, I would have probably been quite offended, you know. So, but it's just strange how the world works,
Yeah. And it's an illustration of the fact that it can affect anybody and at any time.
Yeah,
There's no stigma attached to it. Anybody at any age can fall victim.
Definitely, yeah. And you see that out at Jurong too. There's all ages out there. Addiction doesn't really discriminate at all.
Do you think being a chef is one of those? Because we've spoken to quite a few chefs. Is it one of those professions which is sort of susceptible to sort of...
I think so, I don't like to use it as an excuse, but at the same time, it's antisocial hours, it's a high stress situation. There is quite a bit of addiction through that trade, because a lot of restaurants are licensed, so you get staff drinks at the end of the night.
It's available, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's easily accessed and abused, I think. So yeah.
Yeah. So you weren't drinking really to blot things out, rotten, nasty things that happened to you in your life. It started off more as a social after work thing.
Yeah, it did, and then it turned into the blocking of emotions and things like that, and being in Jurong sort of made me realise that I didn't deal very well with my problems from a young age, and then as I got older, I turned to alcohol to try numb those feelings that I had.
So you say you didn't deal very well with them. What did you do with those feelings?
Oh, I just bottled them up. A typical male, of that age. It wasn't cool to show emotion. It wasn't a done thing, really. To talk about
suck it up and get on with it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that comes back to my work as well. Like you try to have to be somewhat emotionless when when people are being critical of the things that you do all the time. You have to be able to switch off, and the easier way for me to do that was to use substance.
Yeah. You say it's not very sort of it's hard for men to sort of show emotions. There are no life lessons at school, are there? They don't.
No, not at all. And especially at the school that I went to was of a relatively low demographic. There was a lot of male teachers, and they weren't very encouraging type of people. You know, I think a lot of my problems stemmed from my teachers at school. You know, trying to make, you know, trying to maybe not intentionally put me down, but that's what was happening. You know, they'd sort of try and make a joke out of everything. If I asked questions, I was automatically classed as being a smart aleck. You know, and I just think they put me on show a lot of the time, and I found that I get my defences up when people try to do that to me now.
But as a young kid sort of thing, as a teenager, and to be, I suppose, humiliated or have fun poked at you at that age, that is really serious, isn't it?
Yeah.
We can laugh about it, but you know, it would hurt.
It does, yeah. And I think, you know, I lost my grandfather at a pretty integral age. He sort of died all of a sudden, and and then from then on, I think, you know, that's when I really sort of found it difficult to talk to people. You know, he was basically my best friend, and I lost my best friend at a young age, and I think that's when I really started to isolate myself.
Did you feel able to talk to your mates, or would that not be the done thing?
No, that wasn't really the done thing, you know. It was just, you wouldn't talk about that kind of stuff,
So you turned to alcohol, you turned to the bottle. Where did it lead? What sort of low points in your life? We don't want to dwell on these.
But you know, it did lead to trouble with the law. Quite a few drink driving charges, a few road rage incidents and assaults, things that I normally wouldn't do had I been sober, a few relationship breakdown.
A lot of stuff.
You know, loss of good contact with my family. I didn't speak to my brother for a couple of years, you know, so it's had quite an adverse effect. It didn't really pinpoint to one area.
And looking back at those times now, could anything have stopped that? If somebody had been able to make some sort of intervention in your life, if you could have done something different?
I think people tried, but when you're in addiction, like, you think, oh well, I've got this, you know, like
I could stop if I wanted.
And it wasn't until I came to the conclusion that I needed help, you know, that it became easier. And I can look back now and say, oh well, people actually advised me to do that, but I guess I didn't want to. You know,
got to want to do it.
Exactly right. You know, there was a few things that pushed me to do it, like trouble with the law and a pending court case, but at the same time, you know, I've got to believe in my higher power that maybe those things happen for a reason to push me in this direction. So
we're going to break for some music in a short time, but you talked just then about you know, reaching your low point and to the point where you want to make change for yourself, not because somebody else advised it.
That's right.
What was that point in your life where you thought, Josh, you're going to have to do something?
I think it was late last year, early this year, you know. I'd had some sober time up before, and that was another low point too before. That was about 4 years ago, and I fell over, I split my chin open, I ended up in the hospital, and I thought, I can't do this anymore. And I had 2 years of sober time, and then I fell off the wagon, so to speak, and it was early this year, I'm pretty sure, that I decided again.
Can you identify what sort of prompted that falling off the wagon?
It was a relationship with a person that I probably shouldn't have been in a relationship with. They had a bit of a drinking problem as well. They didn't really identify that it be a problem, and they didn't really respect my choices not to drink. She was constantly sort of saying, why can't you have one drink, just let's go have a drink. And eventually, after 6 months of hearing that, I eventually decided, and that was the catalyst, I think, for me to fall off the wagon. That relationship broke down not long after I started drinking again. So but that's...
Healthy relationships and boundaries are really important.
They are, definitely. That's one thing that Durand has taught me.
Josh is with us this morning from the Dooralong Transformation Centre. We were learning something of Josh's past life, but of course he is now at Dooralong. How did you find out about Dooralong, Josh?
Well, I originally became aware of Dooralong because I was doing the merit program, which is the magistrate early, I can't remember what the rest is, but and my caseworker there, she was obviously aware of the place, and I originally went to William Booth to do detox, and then she really wanted me to go to Dooralong.
Because William Booth is right in the middle of Sydney, isn't it?
That's in Surrey Hills, yes.
Very busy, bustling area.
Yeah, it's in a 4-story building. Everyone's sort of living on top of each other, and
it's a bit different than Dooralong.
Very different. Yeah.
So you've never been to Dooralong. You get driven down the beautiful Dooralong Valley, and you go through a little village, and you come to Dooralong. What did you think of it the first time you saw it?
I was obviously a little bit reserved to start off with, because I had a lot of resentment towards myself in the respects of how did I end up at this point in my life that I need to be going to rehab.
Still beating yourself up?
Yeah, very much so. But I thought it was a lovely place, and because I grew up around Kurumbong and lived there for a little while, it sort of brought me back to my past a little bit, and it was good,
Yeah. And you've been there now 5 months?
About 5 months, I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah. And, you're not at the end of that course yet, but what are some of the sort of, what for you will be life lessons that you've learned from your stay?
Well, just to love myself, the way I am. I think I used alcohol a lot to mask who I was.
Yeah.
And it's just taught me how to have self-esteem, and I had no self-esteem when I first got there. I had no spirit about myself. I thought I was one of the worst people in the world, and I found it very difficult to look at myself in the mirror when I first got to Dooralong,
Do you like yourself now?
Yeah, I'm getting there. It's a journey, that's for sure, and I've come to realise that I'm not a bad person. I've just made some poor choices in my life.
Yeah.
And everyone's really welcoming at Dooralong, participants and staff. I've got a really great caseworker, Jason. Him and I get along really well, so it's definitely helped me a lot. Yeah.
You're making progress.
Yeah, I've learnt so much about myself in the last 5 months. I've done some anger management courses and managing emotions, so it's something that was different for me.
Yeah.
But very insightful.
Vital lesson.
Yeah, very.
Yeah. What about the religious side of it? What about the Christian dimension, that there is a spiritual side, I suppose?
Yeah, I think the lines get blurred a little bit between spirituality and religion. But I came into Dooralong as a pretty staunch agnostic, and I'm not agnostic anymore. I do believe in a higher power. I've read a lot about religion, and I think, you know, it's part of the journey as well, you know. I do look at things in a different light now, you know, that instead of blaming God or thinking, oh my God, how did I get to this point, you know, I look at it as maybe he put these things in my life to actually test my character, see how I come out the other side, you know. And we go to church once a week on Sunday, and we also have the in-house chapel on Wednesday nights.
What church do you go to, George?
I go to Agra Lakes. I really enjoy it there. The preacher Bill, he's a really nice bloke. It's a nice setting. It reminds me a lot of my grandmother. I used to go to church with my grandmother, who was a pretty staunch Catholic, so I had a few reservations when I first got into Dooralong, because I sort of come from a family that isn't too religious. My parents aren't very religious, but my nan was, and I found when I went to church with her, Catholic church, it was a little bit formal, strict, and I think I had those expectations when I went to church here. So.
And it wasn't formal at all?
Not at all. Not at all. They're very caring people. They don't judge us because we've had addiction in our life. They're very welcoming, and I appreciate them inviting us to that church there.
And that's such an important thing for people, isn't it? I mean, there but for the grace of God go anybody, really. So, you know, to feel that you might be judged is a terrible thing, and to go to a church and not be judged and accepted with the love of Christ, that's really that's what church should be.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely opened my eyes up. I've been to a few different churches because they send different groups to different places, and I really feel comfortable at Agra.
Good. And what do they have you doing? Because you've told us you're a chef, so I imagine you're working in the kitchen.
I work in the kitchen, actually, so...
But shouldn't you be doing that now, because it's sort of big roast dinner tonight? Shouldn't you be...
Well, actually, I've got the day off because I'm here, so that's good. But, you know, they do a great job in the kitchen there, and when I first got to Dooralong, I didn't want to be in the kitchen. I hated my job. I hated my life. I hated everything about myself. And the guys in the kitchen there, Tony and Nathan, have been really good to me. And I get along really well with them. You know, Tony's ex-addict himself, so him and I have a really good relationship. So
sounds from what you were just saying though that when you went into Dooralong that all your strongest emotions were negative ones. You hated yourself, you hated your job, you hated being at Dooralong.
There was a lot of hatred there, a huge amount of hatred, and it's very hard work. Hating things. You know,
tiring.
It is very tiring, and I think to let go of all that hatred's been one of the best things that I've been able to do there.
We're talking to Josh this morning from the Dooralong Transformation Centre. Josh has explained where he is at the moment. We just wonder whether he's what his plans, what his dreams, his hopes for the future are. So we don't want to be too concrete. I don't suppose you've only been at 5 months at Dooralong, but have you given any thought to the future?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to going back to work and staying sober. You know, I'm gonna probably move to this area because I've made some good connections through Dooralong and through my meetings and through church group and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, so home is Coffs Harbour.
Home is Coffs Harbour and has been for the last 4 years, I suppose. I went to high school there, then I moved away.
Yeah.
I was over in Perth for 10 years, and then went back to Coffs.
Time for a new start, a fresh
Yeah,
start
I think
on the
so.
Central
You know,
Coast.
it's better here for me. You know, to start to put these things in place.
Yeah. And do you look upon that time? I think if it was me, I would have mixed emotions about sort of moving out of Dooralong. Part of me would be glad that I had finished the program and it was successful, but I'd also be apprehensive about, is it going to be okay? Because I'm living in a bit of a bubble here at Dooralong.
Yeah, I think that's a concern for a lot of people. You know, but I'm actually looking forward to it. You know, the last thing that I finished was probably a bottle of alcohol. You know, so to be able to complete it and put the things in place that I've learned at Dooralong will be the next chapter of my life. So
yeah,
of course I'm going to be a little bit reluctant to know whether I can trust myself or not, but at the same time, you know, it's part of the process.
And you're not on your own. You've got support from the Salvos and the NA groups, the AA groups.
Yeah, I've got my family back in my life as well. You know, my older brother and I speak regularly now, so that's really good.
All right, we hadn't touched on that, but there was a bit of distance there for some
Yeah,
time,
there's a bit of distance due to my alcoholism, you know, so we message each other once a week or so. So
how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm very grateful for that.
You're
you
good.
know? Yeah, because we used to be best mates, and then you know, I obviously put some distance between us because there was a lot of shame and guilt with my alcoholism. So
yeah, but that relationship's been restored.
Yeah, it's on the mend. You know, I don't think it's going to take time. You know, these things take time. So to regain people's trust and things like that. So
and you will continue with church, maybe Tugger Lakes, but
I really enjoy Tugger Lakes, but it'll all depend on where I live. Yeah, but you know, at the same time, if I stay on the Central Coast, I can't be that far away from Tugger Lakes anyway.
No,
so,
that's true.
You know, make the journey there. You know,
that's super. Look, Josh, it's been a privilege, a delight to talk to you this morning. We've covered a lot of ground, so we just want to thank you for coming in this morning.
Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. Take our love and best wishes to all the guys back at Dooralong, and enjoy your the meal that you haven't had to cook.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you.
So and we just pray God's blessing on you.
Yeah, I thank Judgement for helping save my life too.
They're good people, aren't they?
Yeah, they're great people.
They're good people.
You've been listening to an encore presentation of the Dooralong stories, which can be heard live every Wednesday at 10 a.m. and repeated 8 p.m. Sunday and 1 a.m. Wednesday, right here on 94.9 rema.cc.